Kelly. We are going to talk about Kelly's profession, what she does, and discuss some things about coaching in general. So stay tuned. It's going to be really interesting to see how Kelly's work intersects with my work as an organizational coach. And so let's have Kelly introduce herself and then we'll get into it. Thanks, Kelly.
Sounds good. Thanks, Hannah. Thanks for having me. So, yeah, my name is Kelly Boyle. I'm a career coach living in Lisbon, Portugal, and I'm originally from the US. And I used to work in corporate before I was a coach. So, I have a background in data analytics and marketing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kelly. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more if you are willing to just tell me what does a career coach really do? Because I think a lot of people right now, especially in this market, are really struggling with finding work and especially finding work that they want to do, right? So where would your role fit into that or other kind of career related stuff?
Yeah. So you're right. The market is really tough right now. And a lot of what I do at the moment is helping people to find jobs that they find fulfilling. It is a challenge right now, particularly with AI. I see a lot of sort of a war going on LinkedIn where candidates are complaining because they have to send hundreds of resumes and HR talent teams are complaining because they have to sift through hundreds and thousands of resumes. And so what I am really trying to do is to help candidates really focus their efforts more. So a lot of the time it's really thinking about, okay, what exactly is the job that you're looking for? What are the skills that you bring to the table that meet that job and helping them to highlight those things so that they can sort of come forward as the best fit candidate for the role. So that's just one side of career coaching that I do. But because of the market right now, that's a big part of it. I also sometimes talk to people who are interested in doing a career change. So they might be exploring other options, trying to figure out what transferable skills they have, what sort of roles that they can move into. So helping them to sort of plan that out and make that transition. And I've also been helping people just with work issues. So if they want to perform better at work or they want to change something, really love working with people to help them just be happier in the job that they have as well. So it's not always about, okay, I don't like this, so I'm going to change. It's like, okay, well, what can we do that's in your control to help you be happier at work? So those are sort of the three things that I've been focusing on personally with my clients.
That's really interesting. Yeah. The last part, I'm seeing a lot of people talking about how they're so unhappy in their current roles, but they're so afraid to leave because of the current market. And I think
Yeah.
your point to what you were doing on actually helping people within their current roles, that's really important, right? Not every problem can be fixed, but when we have a situation, we just find ways to do our best. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's really
exactly.
interesting. Thanks for sharing. So, I did notice one thing when you were talking about what you did. I do notice a difference between what you do and what is traditionally called career counseling. And I'm curious if you could
Mm.
tell us a little bit more about what that difference is to you.
Mm. To me, this is based on my knowledge, but I kind of think of a career counselor as someone that you have when you maybe are in high school or you're graduating from university, or you're basically you're this young person sort of just starting out in your career, and you're trying to think about what am I going to do with the rest of my life. So it's sort of, I see a career counselor as someone who's sort of working with someone early in their career, who's sort of helping them with their next steps, which could also involve, I think, resume building and this kind of thing. But it's sort of more starting from zero, where I think with career coaching, I tend to work more with mid career professionals or late career professionals.
Yeah.
So they're sort of in the middle of their career. and maybe they're unhappy, maybe they're looking for a change. So that's what I view as the difference, but I'd actually be interested in knowing from your perspective how you see this.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think that's great. I don't think there's a really clear, perfect answer or correct answer, so to speak. I think it's really just about how we see it. I'd actually like to segue the conversation into what coaching versus counseling and that conversation about coaching, because we're both
Mm,
coaches, right? And we both do coaching, but I'm an organizational coach. I work mostly with businesses, and I work with people, teams, and leaders within businesses, within organizations, as well as the entire organization. Whereas you're doing career coaching, which is you're also working with people within organizations and outside of
mm,
organizations, but you're doing it from a different angle, right? So I'd love
right.
to talk about that word coaching and what that really means. And that does
Mm,
relate to the question of career counselor versus career coach too, because it does
okay.
bring it all to kind of together, right? So
Yeah, yeah, I
yeah,
see what you mean. Yeah,
yeah.
totally. So when we think about coaching, at least the way that, I think both of us have been trained, it tends to be very forward looking and it tends to be very goal oriented, right? So
Right.
someone comes, there's something they want to achieve, there's a problem that they want to solve, and we don't spend a lot of time delving into the past.
Yeah.
Um, we don't spend a lot of time trying to find reasons for particular behaviors that they might have.
Yeah.
The only reason we would go into the past is to kind of find resources that they need. So if it's they're having trouble facing a challenging situation, it's like, okay, is there a time in the past when you faced a similar situation? What were
Mm.
the sort of qualities or skills that you had that helped you in that situation? So in that way, it helps to sort of bring it into the present and help them move forward.
Yeah.
But I feel like at least counseling, or if we're talking about sort of in the mental health realm or the psychology realm or therapy, therapy
Yeah.
does tend to be a bit more looking backwards, kind of thinking about our upbringing, doing more of that deep work. And they're just different sides to the same coin. I think they can
Yeah.
be extremely complementary.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of therapy.
Yeah.
And I'm even still interested in learning more in this direction so that I can help more people. But yeah, there is sort of this line in the
Yeah.
sand right now between coaching and counseling or
Yeah.
therapy. And I think it has to do mostly with this sort of forwards looking versus backwards looking. You might go to psychotherapy and there's never any actions coming out of it.
Yeah.
But with coaching, you're almost always going to have some sort of actions or some sort of next steps because
Mm.
it's all about helping someone to actually meet the goal that they want to meet.
Yeah. Yeah. Really great points. Thanks for sharing. Another thing I notice also with coaches is that we are very focused, we're very trained on asking great questions. Whereas a counselor, whether it's career counseling or psychotherapy, and I don't want to, I know there are different kinds of counselors in different areas. I don't want to paint a
Right.
broad brush, but there tends to be more of a telling aspect also versus an
Mm,
asking aspect where you already have the answers within you. And that's how we see you as a client when we're your coach. You already have the
yeah,
answers, and we just ask you the right questions and help you find the right way to get there. Right.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
No,
that's a good distinction as well.
that's really interesting. Yeah. So you talked a little bit about or your location in Portugal as well. So I'm curious, do you work with people all over the world or do you work with people only in Portugal?
Yeah, I work with people all over, mostly in the US and in Europe, just because of time zones. Going any further east, I mean, I have chatted with people before, done mentoring with people who live further east than I do. But yeah, for the longer coaching relationships, yeah, I'm focused in the US and in Europe. And I think that's also because I'm from the US as well. That's where a lot of my network is. So it also kind of makes sense that I'm working mostly with where my network is, where my people are, which is the US and Europe.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Do you find that there are cultural differences for the coaching you do across different people, different countries, and especially in terms of career coaching? Because
Mm.
I know, for instance, I was reading that when you do an application for a resume in Europe, you often have to include your picture, and then you might, in some
Mm.
countries, include your date of birth and things which would be absolute no nos
Mm.
in the US as well.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, that's a really good question. I'm trying to think if I've seen this difference. I remember noticing this even as I was a hiring manager at my last job and just thinking how weird it was with people showing their photos. Because I was thinking, I don't think that's actually legal in the US. Can we actually do that? And so I thought that was quite strange because that could be a basis for discrimination, right? So other things that are different. I mean, work culture itself is also can be very different.
Yeah.
Um, I think, but we're talking about jobs. So we'll go back to jobs, again, job descriptions and things like this and applying for jobs. You also get terminology being different. In Europe, it's a CV, and in the US,
Yeah.
it's a resume. So sometimes that's a little bit confusing. But I honestly feel like a lot of the principles that I sort of coach are kind of universal. It's okay if it's kind of universal communication skills, I think, because whether you're communicating with somebody through your resume and trying to communicate your value and what you bring to the table and what your experience is, or whether you're talking with someone in an interview, you want to make sure that you're being clear and concise, that you're talking up your strengths, that you're matching your strengths to what's required for the job, that you're including
Yeah.
those keywords on your resume that match what's in the job description, that you're showing your impact, right? That anywhere
Mhm.
you can quantify something, that you're quantifying it using strong action words. This is pretty universal. I haven't seen that kind of vary by culture. So maybe the formatting, or maybe you'll include a picture, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll, yeah, include your birthday, maybe you won't. But I kind of just leave that up to the person and knowing their own culture or country where they live in and sort of what's required. But sort of these core skills or these core things that you need to communicate your value are pretty universal.
Mm. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah. So, what drove you to start doing this work, Kelly, with people?
Yeah. So I began my coaching journey at the beginning of last year. I had been laid off from my job that I'd been at for 5 years, working as a manager of data analysts. And I took that opportunity to kind of take a step back and think about, okay, what do I want to do as my next step? I've been working in corporate jobs for more than 15 years. I was reflecting on the job that had just ended and realized that what I loved most about the job was the people.
Hmm.
And it wasn't necessarily the analysis that we were delivering, that would bring revenue to the company. No, I was really focused on, is my team happy? Are they challenged? Do they feel psychological safety?
Yeah.
And I loved working with them one on one and helping them to solve problems even when I didn't know the answer. So it was about unlocking their resources or resources within the organization that could help them. And then when I found out about coaching, I was like, ding, 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 because that's basically what coaching is, right? It's helping people to unlock their problems, but you said without telling them what to do. I mean, in management, sure, you're telling people what to do. And if you're training someone on a skill, you're telling them what to do. But with this sort of problem solving and personal development, I was really trying to mirror asking them, what gives you energy? What takes your energy away? Where do you want to go? And not sort of telling them where they should go, but just letting
Hmm.
them sort of lead their own career path. And so when I realized that, I thought, okay, I'm going to try this coaching thing. And so I went and got my coaching certificate from Ericsson International. And then I got my credential from the ICF, my ACC, earlier this year. And I sort of started thinking about, okay, who are the type of people that I want to really help? What are sort of the issues they're facing? And I started doing some coaching within my network. And everyone was coming to me with career related questions.
Right.
And it made me think about how I used to live in New York City for 9 years, and I would jump around companies every couple of years, which was very common there because it's a very competitive market and people are just trying to grow. And
Yeah.
moving companies is one of the best ways to do that and just to get a breadth of experience.
Yeah.
And I was always the one sort of coaching my friends already or giving them advice about job searches, looking at their resumes, helping them with their salary negotiations. So it just
Yeah.
felt right. It felt kind of like it naturally came.
Right.
And yeah, so that's when I decided, okay, yeah, I'm a career coach. I'm going to be focusing on different aspects of career.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah. I
Yeah.
can see how you'd be really good at that. I'm actually curious because when I've been, one thing that comes up for me when I hear the word career coach is career counselors that I've gone to when I was younger. And I've always I hesitate to say it, but it was never a great experience. It's never like they could really tell me anything different
Hmm.
from just do your resume this way or do this. And I'm curious how you found in your experience that actually coaching people versus just telling them this is how you do an interview, this is how you do your resume, which is what standard career counselors do. Of
Yeah.
course, maybe not all career counselors, but just from my own experience, how has that
Yeah.
worked better for your clients than just kind of the standard way of doing it? Does that make sense? Yeah.
No, it's a great question. I completely understand. Yeah. So, yeah, while a lot of coaching is those practical things, there's a lot more to it that I'm discovering as well.
Yeah.
So, I've been running for the past several weeks a group coaching program for job seekers.
Yeah.
And at the very beginning of in our very first session on Zoom, we sat down on Zoom and I had them brainstorm what are their current challenges
Yeah.
with their job search because I wanted to use that to dictate what we were going to be covering and what I was going to be helping them in the following sessions. And to my surprise and delight, they weren't about things like writing your resume or preparing for interviews. It
Yeah.
was it was building up my confidence and battling imposter syndrome. It was maintaining a positive outlook because
Mhm.
job searching can be extremely draining and you can burn out from job searching
Mm.
and communicating their value in a really
Ah,
clear way. And
yeah.
I've hit the jackpot because these are all things that are touching on more holistic, more mental health and well being,
Yeah.
more, yeah, almost emotions driven, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's just what I find more interesting and more impactful, right? Because
Yeah.
sure, if you sit down with someone and you can advise them on how to make their resume better, they can't do that if they're not believing in themselves or if they're not feeling confident in their past work or if they're not feeling that their past work has any worth.
Right.
It's you can
Yeah.
tell somebody you should quantify your work and they go,
Yeah.
oh, but it wasn't really worth anything, so I can't.
Yeah.
So to work on these things first,
Mm.
it's actually changing the way I've been approaching my career coaching as well, because it's making me bring these things up more with clients and unpacking this
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
before just going straight to the practical things. It's okay, before you go and start applying, it's like you need to have these foundations in place so that you can be having a sustainable experience with this, like a sustainable job search,
Mm.
one that doesn't burn you out,
Mm.
one that you also see yourself as a whole person instead of just like a person at work, right? It's like, okay,
Right.
we do exploration about who are you in your personal life? What do you sort of value in your life? Why are you working in the first place? It can also be a lot about just exploring like what what do you want to do? Like what are your passions? Like what lights you up?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I really love that side of it a lot more because it's a lot more dynamic and
Yeah.
interesting and I think impactful.
That makes so much sense. It's funny because this actually brings me to another point that I've noticed with coaching. I think I've seen that a lot as an organizational coach, and I'm sure you've seen it as a career coach as well. Other types of coaches see it is that people are often looking for that quick fix, right? They're just like they want the
Yeah.
done for you. They want you to just say, "Okay, I'm just going to do your resume and now you're going to get 100 job offers from all your dream jobs." And organizations in the same way that I work with, they just want me to somehow implement some kind of system or have one or two coaching sessions with their leaders and everything is resolved. And that's just not how
Hmm.
it works, right? People have to also
Yeah.
put in the work. It's a two-way street. And so, how I'm relating this to what you just said is that from what you're saying is that there is a sense of self responsibility as well. There is that sense of self discovery and self awareness that comes in that is so critical to your job search because a lot
Yeah.
of people don't feel comfortable, quote unquote, selling themselves or they don't know how to sell themselves, right? And that is
Yeah.
so important, especially in this market, because you're just going to be in a sea of applicants and some of them
Hmm.
with more recognized companies on their resumes, more
Exactly.
recognized credentials, things like that, right? That, might catch a recruiter's eye before theirs. So they have to really stand out and be really authentic in their strengths. And I never thought about that part of career coaching. And I think that to me, not to dismiss anything else, but to me, that is maybe the most important part. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. And I think you just said a word that struck a chord with me, which is authentic
Yeah.
and authenticity. And that's something I've been thinking about a lot recently. And it's always been, I have a post-it note on my wall behind my computer that says
Yeah.
authenticity because it's one of my core values and it's one that I try to use every day just in my work and just coming across as authentically me and not
Yeah.
trying to be someone I'm not. And I think that the more someone can also be authentically themselves, they can better communicate and sell themselves to other people because they really know themselves. They really know their strengths. They're really comfortable with
Mm,
themselves. Because I think if you're coming across as authentically you, that's magnetic, like
right.
people are attracted to that. And I think it's the same. It's whether you're looking for a job or whether you're just going through life and you're making friends and relationships, bringing that authenticity, I think is really key. It really helps you to stand out from the crowd. It doesn't mean that you have to be weird or have a unique talent or something like this, but it's just like knowing yourself and there's a confidence that comes with that as well.
That's really interesting. Yeah. I think that's powerful. And I notice that with when I'm doing leadership coaching as well, is helping leaders be more authentic is really important
Hmm.
because a lot of what is leadership these days is often based on archaic concepts from the industrial era of, you boss people around, you're the strong person and you tell them what to do. And actually leadership is about vulnerability a lot of the time. And I know a lot of
Mm.
people might be looking at this screen confused now. Why would leadership be about vulnerability? But, and I can see that you understand because you're nodding along and I know you get it, right? You can't be a leader. You can't inspire people at the deepest level, which is what leadership really is. It's not command and control, it's inspiration. And how are you going to inspire people if you don't really connect with yourself authentically? And in order to be authentic, you also have to be vulnerable to yourself, right? You have to be
Mm.
honest and vulnerable and be that kind of quote unquote servant leader to the
Yeah.
folks you work with, right? So
Yeah.
I see that relation to authenticity in different parts. And I think that it's interesting you brought up authenticity and how it inspires you as well, because it's such an integral part of what we do in coaching, right? Is we allow people to be more authentic. I mean, do you
Yeah.
agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a lot of what we're trying to do is just
Yeah.
like allowing people themselves. I think what a lot of people go into coaching thinking is this just we're going to make a to-do list.
Yeah.
It's going to be all about actions and I'm going to come out with a plan. But it's so much more than that. There's been studies. I've read the book Atomic Habits. I don't know if you've ever read it, but in that
Yeah.
book, he references these studies that I don't remember off the top of my head, but that tie, if you do something, if you make plans or assign actions that are tied to your identity,
Yeah.
you're a lot more likely to actually carry them out. So if you're, okay, I want to work out, that's not really part of your identity. But if you're, I want to be the type of person I want to be a healthy person. And to do that, I want to go to the gym. If you're, I am going to be a healthy person,
Yeah.
tying it to your identity, it's way more powerful and impactful. So actually, we spend a lot of time on that identity work. And I actually had a client recently who admitted she was, oh, we've been spending a lot of time talking about identity and my values, and this isn't what I expected. Like I thought it was going to be the to-do list sort of actions. And it's like, no, it's a balance. It's a balance.
Yeah. I like what you said. It's a balance. You're right. That's one of the things also we see in organizations often. And it's not
Okay.
just me. A lot of companies, they just say, let's get in a consultant. They will tell us what to do. And then they don't follow through, right? Because,
Right.
yeah,
So how, if I can ask you a question,
yeah, of
when you're
course.
thinking about an organization versus an individual, how do you try to tie that? Is it like, is there an identity of an organization, or how do you view how to make these recommendations stick?
Yeah, that's a great question. It really shows you understand how all of this connects. The way I see an organization is a collection of individuals, right? So you
Yeah.
just have to treat it that way. And often people are looking for quick fixes in organizations as well. They just want something that's going to fix everything. And nowadays, unfortunately, not that I'm against AI, but a lot of organizations think that AI is that magic bullet that's going to
Right.
fix everything. But we'll talk about that later. But
Yeah.
is that, there's no one fix. The individuals have to change within the organization and they have to buy into that change. And often the
Mm,
best way, and I'm sure you found this too, is to allow them to come up with the change themselves by asking the right questions, by
yeah.
supporting them, right? Instead of just coming in and bulldozing everything and saying, this is the way it's going to be, you instead talk to people. You do that coaching relationship, that symbiotic coaching relationship where
Yeah.
they input into what the changes can be, and it's talking about to all levels of the organization. So again, it's just people, just like, it's an
Hmm.
organization, but it's a collection of people, and you bring
Yeah.
those changes then, and now people have bought into the change and they understand why, and they're connected to it, they're
Yes.
invested in it, they see how it's going to improve their lives, so
Yeah.
the change actually sticks. And that's why
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
organizational coaching often works better than consulting. Even though I do both, I find the coaching
Mm.
aspect works best. Does that answer
Okay,
your
that makes a
question?
lot of
Yeah.
sense. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that you would want to come in and ask them questions and actually get them involved in coming
Yeah.
up with the answers. You're still guiding them there, but you're letting them have the input because they also are the experts, right? It's sort of like
Exactly.
in individual coaching or career coaching. It's, I always tell clients, I don't know what's best for you. You know what's best for you. I can't tell you that you're supposed to be a dancer or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
you know what, you're the only person that knows what's best for you. And it
Yeah.
sounds like you're doing the same thing. You're going into an organization and saying, yeah, you guys know what's best for you. I'm going to ask you the right questions to help you to come up with the answers to solve your problems. And through that process, I love that it gives them this sense of ownership as well.
Yeah.
And part of that buy-in is having that ownership. And you also mentioned that they understand why. And
Yeah.
I remember that from being a manager, that that was especially effective if you got people involved in the decision making and you help them to understand why things were happening.
Yeah.
I think that once you just explain to people why, they're usually okay. Either they'll question it, which is great, right?
Yeah.
Or they'll be, now I understand. Thank you. I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of just giving an order and being, this is the change, this is the way it's going to be. People need to feel like they're part of the solution.
Yeah. Well said. And
Yeah.
I'm sure you found in career coaching it makes a tremendous difference when people feel they're part of the solution,
Yeah.
for their own lives and their own careers versus just being told this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So we are almost out of time, but I just wanted to end with one big question that's relevant to our times, and that is around AI and how you're seeing, how you think people can cope with this influx of
Mm,
AI and how it's affecting us. It's obviously leading to more layoffs, unfortunately. And then some of the people who are remaining are getting goaded with so much more work because they have to correct a lot of what the AIs are doing because the AIs are
yeah.
not actually capable of doing the work autonomously. But
Hmm.
all of these decisions are being made at a higher level without much thought and understanding, without engagement from the employees, often without them being
Right.
asked. So it's affecting people on that level where people are being frustrated in organizations. Organizations are having issues due to that. But also, it's causing a lot of layoffs and a lot of problems where companies are not hiring because they're waiting for AGI, they're waiting for more advanced AI to come
Yeah.
in. And so I'm just curious if you have any comments at all on that, and
Yeah.
no pressure if you don't, just
No,
yeah.
no, absolutely. No, I mean, it's AI is now omnipresent, and actually I often advise because I coach, but I also do give some advice sometimes when it's needed and appropriate. And I often advise my clients to be ready for questions in interviews about AI because it's just such a hot thing, whether it's in the job description or not. You need to be prepared with, yeah, an opinion, how you use it in your work, because I think that's the thing, right? It's companies are in the end looking for efficiency. That's why they're hoping that AI can take a lot of jobs. They're looking to get the same amount of work done or more for less money. And so if you can show that you're going to be more efficient through your job and that here's how you do it with AI, they'll eat that up. So I
Mm,
think that's one important thing. Yeah, just to be able to communicate how you use it. I think in I believe that AI will not take the place of everything, right? These sort of one-to-one conversations that we have through coaching, this sort of, yeah, whether it's organizational coaching or career coaching or life coaching or whatever. Sure,
mm,
you can spar with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT can help you come up with some answers or ask you some questions, but it's not quite the same. And often it goes off the track, and often it can be a bit too encouraging and not
yeah.
challenging enough. And I think that is also our role as a coach, is to
Mm,
gently challenge beliefs, challenge assumptions. And I don't see AI doing that yet. It seems to
mm,
be much more self-affirming. So that's how I see it. It's like, yes, we live in a world where AI exists. We need to know how to use it and show that we know how to use it efficiently, but just to be careful what we use it for.
mm. Really good points. Thank you. Yeah, I really liked what you said about the pointers as well to how to present your expertise with AI. So you're not replaced by AI, but that you use AI to have that efficiency, which is really what these organizations are looking for. So
Yeah,
great. Yeah. Thank you so much for
thanks.
sharing that. Is there anything you'd like to say to end our chat today before we hang up?
Sure. I guess for anyone who's listening interested in connecting with me, you can find me on LinkedIn. Again, it's Kelly Boyle. You can type in Kelly Boyle Career Coach, and I'll probably come up, or Kelly Boyle Lisbon. I'm the only Kelly Boyle in Lisbon. You can also visit my website, which is kellyboylecoaching.com. So you can feel free to send me a message there as well if you want to get in touch.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. And I will include Kelly's details in the information section as well. So you'll be able to get in touch with her. I've personally done a coaching exchange with her. She is an amazing coach. So I know you're in safe hands. And thank you again, Kelly. Thank you all for listening as well. Take care.
Thank you so much, Hannah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.